I'm Jeff Hamlin, the production manager here at Lincoln Center Theater, and I arrived in 1985 when the new company was reconstituted under the leadership of Gregory Mosher and Bernard Gersten. Well, I would say facetiously, but not altogether unrealistically, I make everybody's dream come true. Basically, a production manager works to take the concept and put flesh and bones on it. Working with the designers and the creative staff, the director, to develop the scenic and physical production, and finding out a way to get from A to Z, in other words, from that initial idea to first performance. So I work a lot with designers, I work a lot with the backstage crews and stage managers and whatnot. And then on another level, try to make it all come in within budget. Well, I think one of the extraordinary advantages of Lincoln Center Theater is that we have two thrust stages, and they do present challenges. One of the great moments of our life here as a company came early on, up in the Beaumont, when we produced a revival of John Guare's House of Blue Leaves. That's a kitchen drama, kind of. It takes place in a living room. It takes place in a living room in Queens. And we did it down in the new house, which was a thrust stage also, and then we moved it up to the Vivian Beaumont. And it really was a surprising revelation because Jerry Zaks, who directed that production, understood intuitively that the way to make a success on a thrust stage is not to be timid about it, that you have to be bold in the way you conceive the staging for a thrust stage. And by that I mean you can't constantly be backing up your actors and you're flattening out your scenery and everything so that because you're afraid that the people on the sides aren't going to see you front and center. Rather, you have to kind of come down into the thrust. And there was a moment in that production where Swoosie Kurtz, who played Bananas, sat literally on the edge of the thrust stage, downstage center, and delivered Bananas' famous soliloquy.
4 corners, 4 people, 1 on each corner, all waving for taxis. Cardinal Spellman, Jackie Kennedy, Bob Hope, President Johnson.
And everybody in that audience felt like they were right there with her in that room, even though they were maybe seeing her 3/4 from the back. It was a very, very interesting thing to observe how audiences reacted to that, because they felt suddenly it was an intimate space, and we've felt that way ever since. Some of the favorite productions that I've done here from the physical production standpoint are CAROUSEL, The Coast of Utopia, 12th Night, and South Pacific. South Pacific, by the way, when you talk about that moment where you're trying to reconcile the dream with the reality of how you're going to do it on the stage, Bart Scher had a wonderful idea for South Pacific, which was during the opening of the overture, the thrust stage was going to retract to reveal the orchestra. And as a production manager, looking at what our budget was and all the other scenery that had been designed by the magnificent Michael Jurgen, I really resisted it. I resisted it and resisted it and resisted it. As a result, Bart and Michael really had to come up with very strong reasons why it was important to them, and they ended up getting rid of a lot of other things that they didn't deem as important from a scenic standpoint, so that they were able to do that. And of course they were absolutely right and I was totally wrong. But that collaboration between the production manager and the director and designer resulted in Michael, it was a very satisfying moment for me, where Michael Jurgen came to me after. He said, "Jeff, we have a better design now." Henry IV was a magnificent production. It, of course, took both parts of Henry IV and put them together under the inimitable Jack O'Brien's direction. That was a really fun production to work on, and I think mostly because Kevin Kline gave a performance of his lifetime, and one of the best performances I think that I could put on my hand of things that I've seen here at Lincoln Center. You know, when you're a production manager, a stage manager, as I began, you know, you live with the text of these plays and the productions because you see them so much. And that's not always a good thing. You know, sometimes you kind of go, oh, I got to go to the theater again. I got to watch this again. And with Henry IV and Kevin playing Falstaff, that was one where I never got tired of watching his performance. It was magnificent.
There's no more faith in thee than in a stewed prune. No more honesty than in a trapped fox. And for womanhood, go, you thing, you.
I am no thing, and I would thou shouldst know it. I am an honest man's widow.
Thou art a beast.
Say what beast, thou knave, thou?
What beast? Why, an otter.
An otter, Sir John. Why an otter?
Why, she's neither fish nor flesh. A man knows not where to have her.
Her curls are hurly-burly, her lips are pips. I call her.
I feel the same way about Kelly O'Hara and South Pacific.
She's my baby, I'm her pal. I'm her booby, she's my trap. I am caught and I don't want to run, 'cause I'm having so much fun with Honey Bun.
She's the only performer as a production manager that I've ever written a fan letter to. Well, I think the spirit of Lincoln Center Theater and the collaborative effort that is involved here starts right at the top with the leadership of Bernard Gersten and Andre Bishop. And I remember early on that one of the things that Bernie said to us, he didn't want the tail to ever wag the dog. And by that he meant that the focus of our work here is about what's happening out on the stages and in the rehearsal rooms. It's not about all of the issues that we might have to deal with as staff members of running the theater. And I think that has a lot to do with it. The other thing is that, you know, I remember when we came here in 1985, the theater had been dark for a while. We kind of moved in. I felt like we were hermit crabs. You know, we took that 60s hallway, 1960s idea of a corporate hallway, and kind of made do, you know, and we're still making do. And this is a mom and pop organization in the end. I mean, it's a big company. We do a lot of stuff, but the staff is relatively small. You know, our motto at Lincoln Center Theater is good plays, popular prices. If you look at the back of our stationery, that's what you see. But you know, on the other hand, it's chaos within reason is our in-house motto. I mean, there's, you know, we're organized, but we're always kind of everything's a little ahead of us, and we're always scrambling in some senses to catch up. Maybe that's because we're a small staff. Maybe it's just our sense of liking to live dangerously. I think one of the marvelous moments came for Lincoln Center Theater when Local 1 awarded Bernard Gersten a lifetime meritorious membership in Local 1, and we had the ceremony on the Beaumont stage, and it was quite wonderful to hear them talk about their relationship with Lincoln Center Theater over the years. I grew up in a theater family, an education and theater family, and I did all of my apprenticeship up at the Loeb Drama Center in Cambridge, Massachusetts. It was the kind of theater that I remember from when I was a kid. And I came to New York to be a graduate student at Columbia, where I met Bernard Gersten. And one thing led to another. I never became a director. I turned into a stage manager at the Shakespeare Festival, another institutional theater, and felt so lucky that I was there back in the 70s doing all the work that we did there. And of course, the Shakespeare Festival ran the Newhouse and the Beaumont for 7 years, and I did 3 productions here as an assistant stage manager. I did a production of The Tempest in the Newhouse that Sam Waterston played Prospero, and I did 2 productions up in the Beaumont, one a child molestation play written by Miguel Pinheiro called Short Eyes, which we really knocked the subscription audience on its ear up here at Lincoln Center with that. and a production by David Rabe called In the Boom Boom Room with Charles Durning and Madeline Kahn. Then I went off and I was a production stage manager. I worked for Michael Bennett for over a decade, and Chorus Line, Dream Girls, all that kind of stuff. And Bernie called me and said they were reorganizing here, and would I be interested in coming up and being the production manager? I said, sure. I was out of work. I thought, this is great. I came up and it was like coming home. Not only because I had been here in the 70s when I was still a graduate student, but I came home emotionally, psychologically, because this was the kind of theater that I always thought I was going to be doing and hadn't for over a decade. So I was happier than a you-know-what once I got up here, and I've been engaged with it, and for the most part, absolutely contented to be working here. You work with different artists, and you know, it's always new.